Shannon, thanks for joining me. I wanted to go through the slide deck that you released last week, as there are a few key points that are worth exploring. Firstly, on slide 3 of the deck, you point out the fact that the only Conglomerate Bauxite project previously mined in Guinea was the Sangaredi deposit, which was vastly superior to all other bauxite. Now, for the uninitiated, are you able to explain why you believe the Gaoual Project is a potential mimic of Sangaredi? And what are some of the key characteristics that put Conglomerate Bauxite at the top of the pile, so to speak?
The Conglomerate Bauxite, the significant difference is that the bauxite actually goes through a rebauxitisation process. So it's eroded bauxite that fills up a valley, and in this case it filled up a river valley. Geologically the river had sort of stopped flowing and the valley filled up with eroded bauxite. Then the bauxite actually went through a rebauxitisation process, and whereby the bauxite then more of the deleterious elements such as silica washed out of the bauxite. What that does is really then increases the grade of the alumina as a consequence. So you end up with this really highly concentrated alumina bauxite with very, very low deleterious elements. As a consequence of the way this conglomerate has formed, the boehmite levels are very, very low, and the silica and the reactive silica levels are very low. And therefore we end up with a highly concentrated alumina grade with a very, very high, what we call available or recovered alumina. And therefore, from a pricing perspective, this would see quite a significant premium in the market, we believe.
Shannon, on slide 7, you highlight the compelling visual comparisons between Gaoual and Sangaredi ore. Why are you so confident that you have, in fact, potentially uncovered a world-class Conglomerate Bauxite project?
We had 3 geologists on the ground ahead of myself and the independent geological expert heading to site as part of the due diligence. They were on the ground well ahead of us, doing all the mapping, sampling, and really getting a good understanding of our property. And, ahead of us being on the ground, those guys really started to believe that they were on something, very special. Of course, when we got on the ground, we confirmed that through a number of things. So we did sampling, and the sampling was very, very high grade. Every sample returned above 55%. 3 out of 7 returned above 60%. That's quite unusual. You normally wouldn't see things that high, even, as a consequence of geologists trying to pick the best rocks and so forth. It seemed, very, very high. The geology, in terms of its visualisation, it's visually quite different to any other sort of typical bauxite in Guinea, or what we call in situ bauxite in Guinea. It has a very different visual look to it. You can see that it's sort of made up of sort of gravel, and from the base of the conglomerate to the top, the bauxite looks different too. So the geology team was able to then correlate that to the work that was done originally on the Sangaredi conglomerate, which is what we believe this is a mimic of, and the rock samples matched, very, very closely. Further to that, the geologists then did further work on estimating the boehmite levels of the bauxite, and they found that the boehmite was very, very low in the 1 to 3%, with grades above 55%. That they have concluded that typical in situ bauxite could not have boehmite levels of that lower reading. They would be significantly higher, and from those key pieces of work, the geological team has been able to very confidently say that we have discovered a mimic of the Sangaredi conglomerate bauxite.
So, with 1.3 million secured via that recent placement, together with the company's existing $1 million loan facility, the foundations look pretty set for you to quickly and cost-effectively unlock what you say is a potentially game-changing opportunity in Guinea. With a busy few months ahead, things don't look like they'll be slowing down for you anytime, Shannon, do they?
It's absolutely flat out. Remembering it's August now, and we're anticipating that the wet season will be completed in November. So all our planning is around getting on the ground and starting our drill program in November, and we're planning to have the auger drill rig drilling in mid to late January. The potential value upside for the shareholders is just huge. We're only capped at somewhere around 7 million at the moment, and potentially we're sitting on a world-class bauxite conglomerate asset. So the value upside is just enormous. The great thing about drilling bauxite is that there's very high visual, and we also will be utilising handheld XRF on each drill rig as well, which will give us a very strong early indication very quickly of what we are sitting on. We're funded to drill out the primary target, and we have our other targets as well, which we're also planning to put some drilling into as well as part of the program. But we're fully funded to identify and outline the resource on our primary conglomerate plateau.
Fantastic, Shannon. Thanks for your time.
Look, thank you, Alex. Really appreciate it.